There's an ugly band still in Japan, at least according to Final Fantasy creator Tetsuya Nomura, who revealed his design philosophy and how he likes to avoid having less than beautiful looking characters in his games. And this is the design philosophy you've been seeing all throughout Japan, even during the Western progressive influence that has come over Japan in this past few years through investment banks like BlackRock and Vanguard that have imposed DEI standards that make you put in less than beautiful characters and other racial gender politics into your games. And Japan has been influenced by this new standard from the West. And of course, hearing old creators from the past saying that they still uphold the old standards is kind of a relieving thing to hear, especially nowadays when we're getting anything but beautiful characters. And you can see this from this year alone, the year of flops from the AAA gaming community and all of entertainment in general, where there's a veering away from making things traditionally beautiful and attractive and appealing to the customer base and making more characters, specifically female characters, more off-putting to the male gaze. And the results that we're seeing now are complete and total failure in the entertainment industry and of course the video gaming industry, as flop after flop is coming out from these studios, whether it comes to Star Wars Outlaws, Dustborn, Concord, Flintlock, Kill the Justice League. All of these games are failing because the character designs and of course the look and feel of the games is off-putting to the gamer player base that you're trying to appeal to. And I think this is a situation we're seeing with character design specifically in the Western gaming sphere, where everything is designed to be ugly, even though you have beautiful models posing for these 3D renders. We're getting less than attractive 3D renders of these models and individuals. And it goes back to that idea that this is a design philosophy that has been set in the Western gaming sphere for political and ideology reasons. So to hear the Final Fantasy creator come out and say, that's not our design philosophy. And he kind of has an interesting experience that led to him to this design philosophy, because when you read the article of his interview, he had an interview with Young Jump, a magazine that kind of mostly deals with Japanese comics and other related entertainment properties. And he was just going about all the projects he was working on. And in the interview asked him a question, where did your design philosophy come from? And he talks about being in school, talking to his friend who was playing a game with a less than beautiful character, and his friend just bemoaned, I have to play an ugly character. I'm an ugly guy in real life. I don't want to play an ugly character in the video game too. And this kind of stuck to Tetsuya Nomura, who's like, who would want to play an ugly character? That makes sense. And you can see this quote right here where he says, when I was in high school, a classmate was playing a game where the main character wasn't good looking. They said, why do I have to be ugly in the game world too? Which really left a strong impression on me. The experience resonated with Nomura so much that when it came to designing his own characters, he focused on making it so that players could look cool and attractive in the game. And I think this is all the design philosophy we've been seeing all throughout Japan. When it comes down to making characters, they want to give you the peak experience and expression that a customer wants to see in a gaming world. And I think that comes with being cool, attractive, strong, invincible, to some extent growing stronger. These are power fantasies that people want to have in the gaming world, because it's not identical to real life, where things like that may not be possible for some people. And I think game developers currently now in the Western games development sphere don't understand this escapism that is built into the video gaming industry. They feel like it's their responsibility to drag everyone back down into reality and shove their face into problems that they really don't care about. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing kind of invade the space of Japan little by little, because we see some of these elements creeping in. Of course, Bandai Namco having its localization teams focus on DEI policies, where they're trying to introduce some of the standards that have destroyed AAA gaming in the Western games development sphere, where they want to focus on these DEI goals of just including diversity, equity, inclusion into the gaming sphere, and adding more emphasis on racial gender philosophies that really have nothing to do with the gaming industry. And I think that's the thing we're seeing play out within Japan right now. So to hear this design philosophy have some resistance with some of the old legends makes people feel happy what's going on, especially Final Fantasy VII. When you see some of the characters that have come out for the remake, you realize, oh, they really kept the essence of those characters. They didn't uglify them. They kept the cuteness, and they kind of maybe even made them cuter. And I think that's the thing people want to see in gaming with remakes and remasters. They want to see something more beautiful, exciting, and engaging. And I think Final Fantasy VII, the remake, brought that with a lot of the characters. Hopefully it keeps going on with a lot of the other Final Fantasy games that are coming out, but obviously it's not, because people are complaining about Final Fantasy Online, where there are a lot of to focus on these racial gender policies that have invaded the space of Japan. And I think that is resulting in people complaining about the direction Square Enix is going, because Square Enix is influenced by these policies that have overwhelmed the Western games developments here in the United States. So it is a scary situation when you see the policies that sunk games like Concord kind of having their place in Japan. But luckily Japan is more of a closed system. They're not introducing people from the West to actually move into the studios in Japan. Bandai Namco are just sending other Japanese people to read the DEI rules and bring them back, translate them back to the Japanese company. So it's not an invasion physically, and I think that's a good thing for companies like Bandai Namco and Capcom, which means they can abandon this ideology pretty quickly because no one from that ideology is within their company itself. And I think that's the thing, that these companies have an advantage over Sony, where they're hiring these trash people and they're making terrible games like Concord under their nose, and they have a CEO that's running Sony Interactive in the same way with the same ideology that is the antithesis of the Final Fantasy creator's philosophy, where he's trying to bring attractive characters into the world, while Concord is trying to bring a de-emphasis on attractiveness and focus on the ugliness in us all, which is kind of weird, but that is the new philosophy that has taken over the video gaming industry, and I hate it. But I think we all hate it as gamers, but we have to confront it. And I think seeing some of the old legends stick up with this old design philosophy makes me feel happy, but it's a sad thing too, because these guys are not going to be here that long. Who's the next people coming up? Shigeru Miyamoto, he's not going to be here that long. These guys are old and they're going to disappear eventually. What's going to happen with Nintendo? And I think that's a scary thing. All the old legends are still holding the ideas strong of what these games are meant to be, but what happens when they're gone? And I think that's the worrisome thing I have about these old creators and the things that they have built up. Someone might just come and destroy. We saw it happen with Star Wars. We saw it happen with The Acolyte. We saw it happen with Star Trek. We saw this happen with Marvel. We're seeing this happening currently with Tomb Raider. So we are hesitant of what's going to happen in the future after these old legends are gone and their IPs may be scooped up by some Western games development industry pawn that just wants to destroy what was once beautiful. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. A lot of people are destroying beautiful things, and I love that the Final Fantasy creator is still upholding some beauty standards that we all can admire. So that's just my thoughts on the situation. Tell me what you think about the Final Fantasy creator upholding these high beauty standards. I think it's an amazing thing, and hopefully it stays that way for the far future. But those are my thoughts on the situation. I'd like to hear your thoughts and comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.